Hello. We introduce in this video the WooCommerce, that is an open source e-commerce plugin for WordPress. It is designed for small to large sized online merchants, by using WordPress with a little WordPress knowledge to start their own online store. Installing a plugin such as WooCommerce is a fairly simple task. Click on Plugins in the menu on the left, and click on Add New. Next, simply type WooCommerce in the Search Plugins field, and hit Enter. Verify if the correct plugin is shown on top, and click Install Now. Over time results will vary, but the WooCommerce plugin itself should always appear on top. Click on Activate Plugin. Note that in the new versions will follow rather quickly, so you might already see a higher version number. Next, WooCommerce starts a quick setup wizard, that gives the possibility to go through the most important settings. In the first step of filling in store details, you will provide your store location, and whether you're setting up a store for a client. This information is really important, as it provides a foundation for further tax and shipping configurations. In the second step 2, select the industry that your store operates in, and you're ready for step 3 of selecting product types. This is third step, where you identify the product types you plan to sell with WooCommerce. The option to sell physical and downloadable products will be free of charge. Selling other types of products requires an amount of money, and WooCommerce will charge you annually for this. If you're not sure, just click on Learn More for more information about each type. In the fourth step 4, you will provide WooCommerce with more information about your business. Your choices will affect your user experience, as WooCommerce will adjust some details according to your needs. WooCommerce will also offer some useful marketing options. You can certainly deactivate the services later, if you don't want to use them anymore. Deciding how your store will appear to your customers is a must when you set up WooCommerce. While the unsettling importance of your store's appearance shouldn't be overlooked, it's completely fine if you still have no ideas for now. WooCommerce offers a few themes designed for e-commerce that help you make an easy start. You can always change your theme later on, if you decide to invest time and money in giving your site a professional look. As there are thousands of sites competing in any given industry, a customized premium theme that makes a distinctive impression is never redundant. You can browse the official WooCommerce marketplace for a premium theme to your liking. We also picked a few of the best looking, and feature-rich WooCommerce themes for you to try out yourself. WooCommerce is usable straight out of the box. However, for setting up it, we'll cover almost every setup parameter that you may use to control your online store. Click on WooCommerce in the left menu and then click Settings. A new page holding different tabs with settings appears. The first one visible is the tab named General. The first tab corresponds to the options, related to the address of the store you have already seen in the setup wizard. In addition, you can see a section for selecting the countries you want to sell, and options to configure the currency. Next, determine to which countries you want to be able to sell at the field selling locations. Give it some thought, because enabling a country also means you must be able to ship to that country. If you set this field to specific countries only, a new field appears, in which you must select the countries that you want to allow selling to. At the field Default Customer Address, you can decide how WooCommerce should set its defaults when a visitor wants to make a purchase. It can automatically set the country field based on the geolocation of the customer, but of course, this will only work if the customer is not working from behind an anonymous proxy. It's also possible to set the base address of the store as a default or no address at all. Why is this setting important? Because shipping costs and tax calculations might be based on the address of the customer. The better you're guessing the customer's location, the better shipping costs will be estimated immediately. It is also where you should go to enable the use of coupons, and to determine if you want tax calculations done automatically. The next 5 settings are all used to set the way WooCommerce should handle your currency. WooCommerce is only able to work with one currency at a time. Set the desired currency, and choose where to show the currency symbol. Finally, choose the thousand separator, the decimal separator, and set the number of decimals you want to calculate with. Save the changes and go to the next tab. Concerning the Products Settings tab, this one is further subdivided into 4 sections: General, Inventory, Downloadable Products, and Advanced. Within the General section, you will see, first, the page where your store's products are displayed. Next, set the unit of measures for weight and dimensions. Check the settings for working with product reviews. You may choose to disable them, although generally, that isn't recommended. Customer reviews is important for almost all kinds of products and services. And even negative reviews are not always as bad as they seem to be. By default, a user that wants to send in a review also has to give a rating to the product. If in your case that isn't needed, you might disable that setting. We show now various settings to manage the inventory of your products. The inventory settings for the product page are as follows. First of all, set the Manage Stock field to enable stock management if you want to work with inventory at all. If you're only going to sell services or downloadable products, this might not be needed. If you're selling services as well as physical products, then enable it here. It's possible to switch of inventory on product level later on. If you have limited stock available, you don't want it to be in a user's cart forever. On the other hand, once an item is in the cart, you don't want to confront the user with a "sorry, sold out" message when they want to pay. The field Hold Stock gives you the possibility to influence the behavior of WooCommerce in this area. When stock levels are important, you want to keep the Notifications field on enabled. Next, enter the email address these notifications need to be sent to. Next, set the low stock threshold and out of stock threshold, that will determine when the mentioned notifications will be sent. Unfortunately, this is not a default. The settings chosen here will be the same for all of your products. You can use the out of stock visibility to decide whether or not to show products to visitors that are no longer available. Finally, set the field stock display format to determine if stock levels are or aren't visible to your customers. Remember to click the Save Changes button at the bottom. We show here some settings for downloadable products. If you're not planning to work with digital products, you may skip this section. The options are as follows. Change the first setting file download method, only if you have any issues with downloading the products by your customers. Next, decide if a login is required to be able to download an item using the access restriction field. Technically this isn't necessary, but you might have other reasons to force a customer to create an account on your website. In the Advanced section, you can enable table use the product attributes lookup table for catalog filtering. Save the changes and go to the next tab. Setting up taxes can be a difficult task. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all approach possible here. Tax laws and calculations differ from country to country, and region to region. Besides, that there's a large difference in handling taxes when selling goods to consumers or to other businesses. So, in here we'll just stick to the basics, by explaining the functionality WooCommerce has available. It's up to you to find out how tax calculations should be done for your specific situation. The settings for tax options page are as follows. First of all, decide if you want to enter your sales prices including or excluding tax in the prices entered with tax field. Including tax is quite common in a consumer-oriented store, but again, this differs per region. Depending on the tax rules in your country, you need to set the calculate tax based on field. Sometimes taxes should be calculated based on the shipping address of the customer. In our example, the base address of our store is used, which means that all customers will pay the same rate. By using the setting as shown, the applied tax rate will only depend on the product, not on the address of the customer. For the shipping costs, that will be discussed later on, you must also determine how the rate needs to be calculated. You set that using the field shipping tax class. Although not always true, the default setting is often a good one, where the rate for shipping is the same as the one used for the item that is sold. WooCommerce works with a standard tax rate by default. It's not possible to delete this one. You can add additional rates if you need them, by adding a description of your choice to the additional tax classes field. The reduced rate and zero rate have already been defined. The field price display suffix may be used to display a short text just after the price field. Use this to display, for example, including VAT. Once done, click on the link Standard Rates at the top of the screen to set your default tax rate. Click Insert Row. Just fill in the rate % and set a tax name that makes sense for your customers. Note that it's possible to set rates per country, state, or even based on zip code. Note that this will only work if you've chosen to base the tax calculations on the address of your customer. By default, your tax rate will also be used for the shipping amount. Finally, using the field compound, it's possible to use multiple tax rates at once, in other words, tax on tax. Don't forget to hit the Save Changes button. If you sell physical goods at your store, setting the shipping-related configuration is an essential business requirement. On the other hand, in the case of virtual products, there is little need to deal with these settings. Distance is an important factor that determines the shipping and logistics costs. For instance, if you sell mobile covers, the distance your packages have to travel is not a big deal due to the weight of the package. On the other hand, if you sell packaged food, weight and product type plays an important factor in determining the shipping costs. Here, you can set up shipping options for activating the shipping calculation, and the registration of new shipping classes. Save the changes and go to the next tab. Concerning the Payments Settings tab, here, you can set the options for all the payment methods available at your WooCommerce store. You should only activate the payment options that you want to display at the storefront. In addition, you can access individual configuration tabs for each payment method. Save the changes and go to the next tab. Now comes the essential settings to make sure your online store complies with the current regulations. You should allow your customer to make purchases as a guest, in other words, do not force them to create an account and provide personal information. You will see an increase in the store's conversion rate, because of the simplicity of the purchase process. In this Accounts and Privacy Settings tab, you can decide how personal data is treated, the location of the store's policy page, the notification messages that you must show to buyers, and the time that personal data is retained. Save the changes and go to the next tab. In this Email Settings tab, you can configure the way WooCommerce handles emails it will send to your customer. Also, this tab contains several sub-areas, starting with email options and followed by a couple of settings for every type of email WooCommerce can send. The From Name field is the name the receivers see in their email client. By default, this is the name of your online store. The From email address field defaults to the administrator of the website, which defaults to the address created when installing WordPress. Of course, this may be overwritten here. Next, if you want to, you may add your logo as the header image for your emails. To be able to do that, do the following: save any changes here and navigate to the Media menu. Upload your logo in the Media Manager. Open the image by clicking on it and copy the contents of the URL field. Go back to the WooCommerce settings, and paste the URL in the header image field, like in the shown example. Feel free to change the default email footer text field, which will be printed at the bottom of every email. At the bottom of the Settings tab, you have the possibility to change the default colors of the email messages, so that they fit to the colors of your website. Just click the color fields, and use the color picker to change them. Or enter the hexadecimal color code directly into the field if you know the correct color codes of your website. After saving your changes, click the link in the middle of this tab to check the results. The shown email message is empty, but it still gives you a good idea of how the messages will look like. If all seems correct, you can one by one check and change the settings of the various emails WooCommerce will send. The example below shows the settings of the new order email, which is the confirmation message that you will receive when your customer creates a new order. Save the changes and go to the next tab. In the WooCommerce Store Setup Wizard, if you opted for integrating a third-party service or product, you can configure the settings in this Integration Settings tab. In this last tab of Advanced Settings, various advanced options are grouped in easy-to-manage groups. These settings, concerning page setup, REST API, webhooks, legacy API, are more targeted toward developers. You can see each of the pages that make up your online store, as well as different variables that regulate the behavior of the store. You can also create and set up the terms and conditions of the store, and how it would be visible at the storefront. If you do not understand the rest of the variables, it is better that you do not touch anything and complete the configuration process. I finished here the video. If you find it useful, subscribe for more video. Thanks and see you soon in the next videos.